Thank you for taking the time out to join our roundtable, which we would normally have hosted at the WISCAP annual conference, but since we weren't able to do that, we're trying this out virtually. So I think I have a small presentation and some updates for you. I'll probably run through all of those slides, and then we can open the floor up for discussion, Q&A, stories, anything that you guys would like to talk about. So, see if I can get my, I'm figuring out sharing my screen for the first time here. All right, is the presentation up now?
Yep, looks good.
Great. All right. So a brief agenda. Again, I'm going to go over some updates on our 2018 annual report and the status of all of that data, as well as the 2019 smart forms that we are all eagerly awaiting. I also will go over I'll do an overview of the annual report modules and some of the resources that you can access to help you complete those modules, since I do know that we have a number of new people joining us for the first time. I will also go over some Module 3 updates, as well as some Module 4 changes. We will talk about the timeline for all of this to happen, and then, as I mentioned, we'll open it up for questions and discussion. Oh, also a quick note, we are recording this, and you will get a copy of the slides when we are done. So there are some links in this PowerPoint that I'm not going to click on, but you will receive those resources when we're done today. So last year's annual report, we collected the modules. If you remember, the smart forms were late last year as well, so we collected them in normal Excel forms, and then the data was transferred into the smart forms for you. We submitted them to the Office of Community Services via their online data collection system. That was something that I did after you submitted the forms to me. We received an email last May, so almost exactly a year ago, that OCS had accepted our annual report. Then earlier this year in February, we received a review memo from OCS asking us to have you guys make corrections and updates to your modules. So all of you received an email from me, and we worked on updating modules 2 and 4 to either correct some data or clarify some data. And then I was able to get all of those corrections over to OCS in March. And that was right before everyone was basically sent to start working remotely. So we were actually, I guess, lucky to get that done. But the reason why this is important is because the Excel smart forms that we receive from OCS are programmed with previous year data so that it can compare and trigger possible errors for the new data that you put into those forms as sort of a built-in quality assurance method. So until the 2018 data is finalized, the 2019 data or the 2019 smart forms won't be ready. So even though we were told that our report was accepted and final last year, I don't know if they did deeper review or what the issue was, but they decided they needed to clarify some data points in order to finalize the report, and are now working on our smart forms, which have been delayed multiple times, but we have been told that we should receive them Friday, May 22nd, which is this Friday. So that is the latest that I have heard. Brief overview of the modules. Module 1 is the state administration module, and this is the module that I complete, and it doesn't require any action from you. We report on our administration process, the allocation of CSBG funds to all of the agencies, the training and technical assistance activities that our office and WISCAP provides to the network, and things like monitoring outcomes. So the outcomes of your desk audits and the organizational standards and those types of things. Module 2 is the eligible entity expenditures, capacity, and resources module. And this is where you are reporting your agency's funding sources and financial information. And I have also linked the module 2 information page and instruction manual here.
I'm on a Zoom meeting now. Okay, bye-bye.
All right, can we make sure to mute if you have some background noise? Thank you. Module 3, which I will talk about in a little bit deeper detail in a little bit here, is our community level transformation module. This is where you're reporting the impact of specific programs that have had on your community over time. It's different from other modules because there's a narrative that you use to tell the story of community action, changes that aren't as easily grasped through quantitative data reporting. So this is really, not all of the programs and the outcomes that you have are able to be put into numbers and numbers of people served, pounds of food, that kind of a thing. And so this is the module that was implemented recently in order to be able to show these the real world impact that you're having in your communities through storytelling, essentially. There's very specific criteria for this module, and we will host a roundtable at a later date completely dedicated to module 3. So I don't want you to worry too much about module 3. You should save your brain space right now. Module 4 is the individual and family level module. And this is where you will report your national performance indicators, or NPIs. These include the numbers and characteristics of the individuals and families you served in 2019 and the outcomes they achieved. And again, I'm linking the resource page and instruction manual for module 4 here. So module 3 updates. It's confusing to everyone. I don't want you to feel like you're the only one that doesn't get it. I have been with CSBG a little bit under 2 years, and in just that time, it has changed several times. So the messaging is not consistent, and it is confusing. So I don't want you to feel left out. We recently received communication from OCS that they are changing the terminology from community level initiative to community level transformation. There wasn't a lot of explanation behind that other than they thought that it was confusing to people, which is true, but I don't necessarily know that just changing the terminology is going to help with that. But that's another topic for another day. So they are defining a community level transformation as a project designed to create measurable community-wide improvement affecting one or more cause or condition of poverty within a defined geographic area with clearly defined and measurable goals and one or more strategic activities designed to achieve those goals. So it's the change over time that they are trying to measure with these community level transformations. The new guidance you received from OCS were in a Dear Colleague letter, which I have also linked here so that if you are interested in reading the details, you can. But basically, it allowed us the opportunity to have an additional quality assurance year for Module 3. Last year was the first year that we had you submit Module 3, and it was a test run. It was basically to receive feedback, see how people are interpreting the modules, what training and technical assistance they will need. It wasn't there was nothing that could count against you by submitting the Module 3. And OCS has basically said we need an additional quality assurance year to keep providing the training and the technical assistance, and they have provided the states the option for whether or not we want to collect Module 3s. Wisconsin has made the decision to not collect Module 3 this year. I think that decision was made even before the coronavirus pandemic became everyone's main focus. So I think that even more so now, that was the right decision. So again, I don't want you to waste too much brain space thinking about Module 3, because we will work on it together as a network at a later point in time. Again, if you want to read the Dear Colleague letter, it clarifies sort of the stages of a Module 3 project and when it's appropriate to submit the form, and then further expectations on Module 3. And I should also clarify that this is nationwide. This is not just in Wisconsin. This is the whole network really needs the clarification and the training and the assistance. So that's what this extra year is going to be used for. So OCS did provide me in March with feedback of each of your individual Module 3 submissions from last year. I will be sending each of you those. I know I've said this a couple of times in emails to you, but I will be sending you that feedback, and then we will have the opportunity to have a one-on-one call or ability to discuss the feedback from OCS and see where to go, set up some action items, and how we can get your Module 3 up to the expectations that OCS has for reporting next year. Again, I don't think that right now is probably the right time to provide the feedback, since we're working on the rest of the annual report and transitioning to remote work and everything else that's going on. So I would say I'll probably provide this to you sometime over the summer, maybe sometime even as late as the fall. So if you are just really anxious to see your feedback, you can reach out to me. I'm more than happy to share that. But for now, I would just put that on the back burner. And just like we're doing now, I'll work with WISCAP to offer some kind of an opportunity to workshop your Module 3 submissions and host some kind of a roundtable in this type of format, so that we can just get some more training and assistance to everyone, and opportunities for discussion. So if you listened to nothing else, just know not to submit Module 3 this year. Now I'm going to review a few of the changes to Module 4. These are minor tweaks in terminology, just to, I think, to make the forms a little bit more consistent with the directions and a little bit more clear to those of you that are filling them out. So for the FNPI 4 form, which is the housing FNPIs, they just changed the terminology from households to individuals. The instructions were to report the number of individuals, but it was confusing because the verbiage on the form said households. So we are reporting individuals here. For FNPI 7, this is to report unduplicated individuals achieving any outcome. And the verbiage was very confusing. It used to read outcomes across multiple domains, and now it says outcomes achieved across one or more domains, which may or may not be better, but the idea behind the data that you should be putting on this form are the number of individuals that achieved any outcome across any program, just any outcome, but unduplicated. So this is different from the all characteristics tab, where you report the total individuals that you have served. So these are two distinct data points, but both kind of giving a total unduplicated account or count of individuals. On the all characteristics tab, they made a couple of updates. They added some new data points. One, they split up high school graduate and GED equivalency diploma. Before, that was all the same data point, and now they've just separated it and added a separate line for GED. They have also added an option under military status to report the number of individuals that have never served in the military. This particular section was a little confusing because if you remember on the all characteristics tab, all the different sections are supposed to equal the number of individuals served. This was the one section that didn't. It didn't add up to the total individuals served. It was just the total number of individuals that had a military status. So I think that they are putting never served in the military as a way to make it consistent with the other sections so that in line E total, you will have the total number of individuals served. And that should capture everyone then, whether they were in the military or not. So timeline, as I mentioned, this coming Friday, we are expecting to get our smart forms. These will just be for modules 2 and 4. I will be receiving them and I will email each of you your forms individually because they are unique to your agency. June 12th is when I am asking for you to complete the smart forms and send to me via email. And then July 17th is my deadline to upload all of the annual report modules in OLDC. I don't need anything from you. However, in between June 12th and July 17th, I will be reviewing all of your modules. And if there are any questions or clarifications I need from you, I will be reaching out to you and you'll just need to get back to me before that July 17th deadline so that I can complete the modules, finalize them, and upload them into OCS's database. Now that we've kind of gone through the review memo process, we have a little bit more of an idea of the types of clarifications that OCS might be looking for. So I think that it should go a little bit more smoothly this year. And also having the actual smart forms to report the data in should really, really help that process as well. Okay, now we can open it up for the roundtable part of this for anyone that has questions or comments or stories they want to tell. I'm not sure, Cassidy, if you have a recommended way to do this, if there's a way to just raise hands or.
I just have the regular training version enabled, so not really a need to do the raise hands.
Okay.
Just because it's a small enough group.
Okay. Well, then let's just say for questions, why don't you just go ahead and unmute yourselves and just start talking. Hopefully it's not too chaotic. I'm sure we have some people dying to ask some things.
Hello?
Yep. Hi, Brian.
Yeah, I have a question about the insurance. For some reason, the insurance always is out of balance too. It's usually bigger than the serve number. And I was trying to figure out why that happens. Is it because they're reporting more than one source of health insurance? Or what's going on with that?
I know what you're talking about because I've seen that with some other agencies. I don't actually have the form pulled up in front of me right now. Let me take a look at yours when we're offline and I can get back to you on that. I know there's, now I'm just going off of memory. I know there is an option to report those that have insurance, those that don't have insurance, and then those that you don't know, and that should equal the total. And then there's a breakdown that should equal a breakdown of the types of insurance, and that should equal just the number that reported yes to insurance above. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It doesn't.
It doesn't?
No.
Okay.
Then both 18 or 19, they didn't. It was usually a bigger number. And I was wondering if that's the reason they're reporting, like they report more than one health insurance source.
Okay. Good question. I will have to look into that. I'll take a look at your forms when we're done here, and I can get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Okay, great question.
Anna, I've got a question.
Yes, hi Kathy.
Hi. So this is just a little technical guide, but with the split out between high school diploma and GED, HSED, what do we do for programs that are recording it in one lump? Which line do you recommend we put that on? GED?
That is a really good question.
We're going to underreport or overreport either way, but
Right, either way. Yeah, do that for now. Let me, I'm going to run this by NASCAS and see what they've been telling other people to do.
Okay.
I don't know if that's something that they've thought about. That's a good question. Thanks. I'll add that to my list. Okay. Anyone else? Wow, quiet group.
Anna, this is Jamie Johnson. I have a similar question.
Sure.
The same with the military status. We crafted our intake form off of our modules. So when we
Yeah.
enter them into our database system, we don't necessarily have the new information for the modules as they are going to be in the future. So how do you suggest that we, report for military status? Just keep it as unknown for now, even if they have never been in the military?
So for military status, I would only, if you collect, depending on how you collect that data, I would only report who you know has been in the military. And I would not then add everyone else to unknown so that your total becomes the total participants served. That's okay for that total to be less than the number of participants served. Does that make sense?
Yeah, currently the people who have never served in the military, they fill it out as unknown or not reported. There's a little
They
NA
do?
for an NA section, and they'll hit the NA.
Okay.
So we'll just have to add that future for 2020, but we'll have half of 2020 now that won't have the data that's going to correspond with module 4.
That just won't. Okay. Well, so okay. Yep, that makes sense.
I mean, we'll do the best
Yeah.
to go back and get that information. There's over 10,000 people, so it takes us a little while.
Oh gosh, yeah, and I wouldn't expect you to go back and ask them all what their military status is or to clarify. I'll run this by NASCASP and see what guidance they're giving to people who lump these together when they collect this data. Just to clarify for anyone that's new, if you don't report or collect any data point, just don't complete it. You're not required to, for all the NPIs that are being collected, you're not required, to report on all of the data points. These are the ones that are applicable to you that you collect with your programs. And it's understood that not every program is going to have all of the data points collected. So, okay. There another question? Well,
This is Annie. I do have a question, Anna.
sure.
One thing we struggle with every year is with our food pantries because TFAP is pretty restricted on what demographic information we can collect. So when it comes to the all characteristics report, I always struggle with knowing where to put our TFAP or our food pantry clients. So we have an unduplicated account of them, but we don't have like really any demographics for them. So should they, what I've done in the past was put them at the bottom under section E, but I wasn't sure if that was right or if they should just go like into the unknown sections.
Yep, no, we've accepted that before, and I would
Okay.
say continue to report it that way because that's how you've been reporting it in the past.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I shouldn't be making any updates to how we've done that.
Yeah, I have not received any guidance from OCS that you should be reporting that differently, so I would just assume business as usual.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna put, I had one more slide here just with my contact information. If anyone needs to jot that down, you're welcome to contact me offline. I'm still available. That's my office line, and that still rings to me. So you're welcome to give me a call or shoot me an email. If you have any questions or clarifications, I'm sure that once we get the smart forms and as you're filling them out, you might come up with some additional questions. The nice thing about the smart forms is that it will trigger you know, any kind of an error based on your data from last year, and then kind of give you a way to troubleshoot that. But you might have some data that is still getting triggered that is actually correct that you might run into some issues with. So I can help walk you through that as well. And if we need to submit some kind of like an explanation, we have a way to do that this year preemptively for OCS instead of on the back end through a review memo. So I'll work with all of you on that process if that applies to you. So. All right, anyone else? Okay, well, I guess, Cassidy, we can just end this early, and I hope the rest of you enjoy I hope that you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And again, I am here to help with anything, and hopefully you'll be hearing from me on the smart forms as early as Friday. All right, thanks everybody.
All right, thanks, Anna.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Cassidy.
Thank you.